What's up, everyone? Welcome back into the podcast. This is Two Catholic Dudes, and my name is Ryan Klaus.
My name is Danny Cleary.
As always, we are not priests. We are not theologians. We're just two Catholic dudes. We're talking about our faith.
And this week, we just got back from Religious Education Congress here in Southern California. The Los Angeles Archdiocese puts on the big event every year. And so it's a big weekend, starting with Youth Day on Thursday all the way through Sunday. So I was there for one of the days. Ryan was there for the whole thing, whole shebang.
It was wild. Funny thing is, like, us in the Catholic circle, we're like, "Hey, are you going to Congress this weekend?" And everyone's like, "What? Are you going to Washington D.C.? Like, what is happening?" Like, it's just like one of those things. Again, it's Los Angeles Religious Education Congress.
Yeah, so like when
it's a mouthful.
Yeah, when you say it to non-Catholic people or stuff like that, they're like, "Oh, what are you doing this week?" "Oh, I got Congress." And they're like, "What the heck?" like really?
I don't know you're in politics, but like, sure, man, you do you. So yeah, I was there for the whole weekend. It was a long weekend, but it was really, really great. Yeah. And we're kind of just gonna recap on some things. Even though Danny wasn't there, you had like you had the flu or something.
I had like a fever.
I think you had the coronavirus or something.
I don't know. I was I my weekend before that was my confirmation retreat.
Oh yeah, and you go hard on that.
I give it my whole, I give everything to God that weekend, and more than that, with 78 kids and flu season, like you're gonna get sick, know, and your body's tired, your immune system's not what it's supposed to be, you're off your regular schedule, you're sleeping in an uncomfortable bed, like. Yeah, I'm blessed enough that I got through the weekend, but once I got back that whole week, I slowly felt myself starting to deteriorate, and by the time it was Thursday and I was ready to drive to you, I was feeling all kinds of bad, but I wanted to be there for at least Friday.
All kinds of bad. You heard it here first. But, sorry you weren't feeling well, but there's something about, giving your all on retreats. And I think there's a lot to be said on that. When we might have another episode pretty soon here on retreats, because like we said before, the what was it, episode 6 or whatever was on retreats, and not many people watched it.
Nobody knew who we were then.
So like let's recap on that subject. But speaking of also being tired, it's another late one tonight, guys. It's after midnight right now, but like we are both fading. We have had a very long day, but we need to make this happen. It's been a struggle lately to get some podcasts out here. Yeah. We missed the mark this last Monday.
Yeah, our first miss.
Well, we had it done. Here's the thing. We had the podcast done, recorded, ready to go. The audio was uploaded on time, and the video didn't get uploaded by 10 o'clock on Monday.
Right.
I felt horrible about it. My internet the connection got all messed up. So it came up by like Tuesday, so forgive us, please. But thanks for sticking with us.
And for audio listeners, it was there like normal.
Yeah.
And I think most of our listeners are audio listeners.
Yeah, comment in. We haven't really gotten a lot, or maybe we haven't checked, but comment in because you can comment on like Spotify and Podbean and Castbox and all that stuff, wherever you guys are listening.
Or comment on an Instagram. We should do a poll on our Instagram. Like,
where do you listen? How do you listen? Yeah. And if you're driving, please don't comment while you're driving. Pull over. Or like wait till you get to work, huh? But why don't we actually didn't plan on this, but why don't you give me a little recap of your retreat? Because this was actually the first time in maybe 14, 15 years that I didn't go on the Holy Cross retreat, and I felt really bad about it, but I lived pretty far from where you guys were having the retreat, and I had stuff that weekend that I needed to be a part of. So, but I really, really did miss it, and I kind of wanted to see how everything went. So.
It was a really great weekend. It was one of those weekends where I was praying a lot beforehand, but like I didn't feel spiritually ready to go into it. And like, I think that we talk about that as people in ministry. Sometimes when you're getting ready to go into stuff, like you're prepared with your supplies and your paperwork and all that stuff, but like, are you prepared spiritually to help these teens encounter God? And I was not really in that place at all. And my team of volunteers, peer leaders, young adults, I took a lot of my good friends are on my leadership team. They really stepped it up, and just everybody gave it their all. We had a smaller leadership team than usual, and it was just like everybody gave it their all. And I think that it was a really great retreat. We were really worried about it because there's a couple teens that are struggling. All teens are struggling, but there's a couple that are struggling with some pretty big vices, and we just stepped up to the plate, and I think that we helped them really encounter God in a really powerful way. And it was tough for sure not having you there, as you said, like with music and things were different. Adoration was different, but it was so great. Everything was so great. Everything still, the Spirit moved. God was present. God was there.
I wasn't there, but who was there? God was there, right?
So
it's
and like I tell the teens, like even if I'm not there, say I get sick on the retreat and I go down, like the retreat's got to continue. It's not about who's doing it. It's about who you're doing it for. You're doing it for the teens. You're doing it for God. Whoever, like, if I can't do my talk because I lose my voice, there's got to be somebody else that can jump up and do it. If somebody else, can't do their game or can't do their this, there's got to be someone else that can step up and take ownership of that. And I think that was really great this year that our team really did that. It was an outstanding weekend. Truly, I had a great time, and I think that my youth group's kind of it was kind of fading down for a little bit because the way of the world right now is it's tough to get teens to come to youth group sometimes, and my numbers have usually been like gigantic, and it was this year I was like really down on myself because I was like, what am I doing wrong or what's going on? And after the retreat, they really spiked. We had a great we just had youth ministry this evening, and it was an awesome night, great turnout. There was like 50 kids. We had a great time.
You gave a great talk too. I popped in at the end there. It was nice to visit with some of the kids, but I think you had a good point about it was small numbers on the retreat, but that kind of empowers kids, and especially because I wasn't there, you guys had to step up in a different way.
Right.
I don't think no one really did music, right? But you filled in the gaps.
We filled in the gaps with other things, and then we did Brendan, my brother, and a couple actually of the girls on the team that were in your choir. There's a musical portion that we do at a campfire, and they stepped up to the plate and they did music.
That's awesome. Yeah. So there's something to that, is like, you're able to step away and watch the program still thrive and still succeed, even without you. Again, you can be an integral part of the system, but other people, you give people the chance to step up to the plate and thrive in those opportunities. And so I had to do the same thing at my parish when I was at Congress this last weekend. Religious Education Congress, because since I got hired at this parish, every single weekend I've done 4, sometimes 5 masses, and they didn't really have anybody that could play the piano. And I'm like, I have no idea what's going to happen if I have to step away for a weekend. Like, what are we going to get? We've talked about like Betty Sue on the organ kind of deal,
right?
And I don't want. Sometimes in those situations, you come back and it elevates you a little bit more.
Sure. They realize the value.
It ups your stock a bit, but like that's not why I'm doing this. You know what I mean? I never want a mass to suffer. It doesn't matter how much it'll elevate me. The mass needs to be. You don't want the quality of something to go down just because of your presence. Exactly, right? So I wanted it to succeed, and there was a lady in the choir who plays piano. At rehearsal, she was okay. She was giving it her all, but I guess she really brought it, and she rehearsed her butt off, and she came, and they said she did a wonderful job, and the mass was fantastic while I was gone. So it's really great to hear that. And again, you empower those people in those moments to step up so that it doesn't have to rely on you. You can bring it when you're there, but then other people can carry on without you. Yeah, of course, and I think that's a we talk about being an example, like having Christ as our example. That's what Christ said for us, and that's what we're all called to do as ministers, is finding people to continue what we're doing. Step up, like when he was like, I'm out, you guys got it. Yeah. You handle it. And we have to be able to do the same thing of people. It's, I take pride in the fact that when I have to go on retreat over the summer, like we go on retreat or trips or whatever, and I never let youth group get canceled. Because there's people that can handle it while I'm gone. And I don't want everything else in life is consistent. And so I want faith and the opportunity to be with God to be consistent just as much. So, it's just like our podcast too. Sometimes it gets rough, but we film at 12 midnight because we got to get it out next week for you guys, even though we live far apart. But again, we've talked about it, is being consistent with whatever you're doing, especially when it comes to something important like your faith. Yeah. Right, so that's what we're about. So anyways, so I'm glad you had a good retreat. I'm sorry I wasn't there, but it's all good. Wonderful to hear things are continuing on fantastically. So anyways, we spent the weekend at Religious Education Congress, and I did, and Danny was there for a bit. So let's kind of talk about our experiences. You know what's crazy is that like we've spent most of our lives again in this one parish, and for us, Congress was like kind of these like epiphany moments of this broader this
Catholic world,
and it really helped deepen our faith, right? You were alluding to that earlier.
Well, like Youth Day, which is like the first day of Congress, I guess, in a sense. Youth Day was one of the first things I did like as a teen. That really, when I remember I walked into youth and I was like, holy moly, like this many kids are doing the whole God thing or being forced to whatever they were there for. Pardon me. And I remember I was like, this is crazy. There's so many people here. And I remember like it was being at Congress and socializing, interacting, going to great talks with other people of the same faith it's always a great experience every year in that aspect.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that part of it.
But then you had mentioned, because we were very secluded in our Catholic world, now we've broadened our scope being on social media. Obviously, we had our episode on Novus Ordo and Latin Mass because of all that that went down. And I'm like living in a very traditional Catholic situation
social
right now.
Circle.
Social circle. It's very, very, very conservative.
Sure.
And they all went. But they were kind of walking around the convention hall and networking, because that's what a lot of Congress is for a lot of Catholics. It's just to meet and to connect and reconnect with people. But anyways, they were talking a lot beforehand about how atrocious a lot of the things that go down at Youth Day and Congress are, and how much they weren't using the words hate, and they're my.
They disagree.
They're my friends. They disagree with all the practices that are going on there, some more than others. But you were saying it's kind of disheartening because like this was the moment that
I probably land in the middle of that discussion, probably. I think both of us probably land in the middle of that discussion.
Yeah, 100%.
But on the same point of to discredit the whole event, or to not discredit, but to be mad at the whole event in some aspects, which maybe people are. I think it's a bummer because for some people, this is such an enriching experience for their faith, and it's a chance for them to connect with people from all different areas, and people come from all over the country, not just all over Los Angeles. People from all over the country, and a lot of these people are middle-aged and up, and they're not on social media, and they've only ever been in one parish their entire life. Yeah. And for them, it's so exciting to see this bigger Catholic world on display. Like everyone just on fire for their faith. Yeah. There were a couple of comments that there wasn't a ton of super young people, and like I do wish that there was more at Congress geared towards the younger generation of Catholics, 100%. For sure. And I think that the stuff that they think isn't really done well. Yeah. But every single thing that's ever done is going to have things that work and things that don't, and things that everyone loves and things that everyone doesn't like. Yeah. And whatever. I think that Congress is an amazing thing. I think it's an amazing weekend. I think it's a great time to network. I think it's a great time for prayer. It's a great time for spiritual growth. The beauty of it is you can go to the things that you like, and you don't have to go to the things that you don't like. Right. And and if you don't find something spiritually enriching about the weekend, then I think that you're closing your mind off too much. Yeah. But it was a great weekend, truly. It always is. I've been going for many, many years. This is the first. I didn't go last year, but like I was there for one day. And we heard an absolutely incredible talk. Yeah, Bishop Barron, it was amazing. Completely brought it. He talked about the real presence of the Eucharist, because obviously that's a huge problem. That poll came out in September about how only 60% don't believe. 40% of Catholics at most, I think it was, whatever the number is, truly believe that it's the real presence of Christ. And so that talk was rocked it. Was amazing. What was that line? Oh, there's a couple of great lines. My favorite thing that he said that I actually used it at a confirmation night that weekend, because I loved it so much. But it was the power of the word, the transformative power of words. Yeah, and how God's word can do, like if our words can transform reality. He was talking about like an umpire or a referee in a sports game. Like if
that was a great moment.
If
for
the
me.
umpire says you're out, he just changed reality. You are now out by his word,
right,
of his authority, right? And if that human being's words, because of his authority and position, can be transformative of reality, how can God's not? You know, and we think, like, we go back in Scripture. How many times does God say something and it happens? Get up and walk. Lazarus, come out. Your sins are forgiven. Like, these are things that God said, and it happens. And yet we don't believe that when he says, this is my body, that it is.
And I love the line. He kind of took us through a history of the different councils and everything. But he started with, was it John 6? In the scriptures, and then he ended with Pope Paul VI, and so he was like from John 6 to Paul VI, and he like summed it up, and it was just like a mic drop moment. It was really great.
Well, and I love, just to go back, we're all over the place today, but it's all good. That John 6 verse, I just talked about this in Bible study a couple weeks ago, because the teens are yearning to know, like, because I'm very passionate about the Eucharist. I talk about it every week at youth group, because people need to know, and people need to be rushing to it. When people are struggling, and like, this is food for the starving. This is the way, the truth, the life. Like, it's there. You got to run to it.
Yep.
And that John 6, because the translation in my Catholic Bible, that like my the side notes talks about when he says, you must eat my body, and it translates to like gnawing or chewing, like how an animal would eat, because and it just, that Jesus would use that
descriptive
that
language,
vivid word, because it's like that. He's going above and beyond, like, this is what I'm actually saying. I love that, and I was telling that to the kids. I'm like, that's why he's being so graphic and descriptive, because he wants you to take him seriously.
Right.
But back to what we were saying about Bishop Barron and his talk about that transformative power of word, and how God's word transforms reality in numerous times in the scriptures. So, like, if he wants to say this bread and wine is now my body and blood, it is. Because God says so.
Exactly.
And he's God. So I'm going to believe him.
So great talk from Bishop Barron. It's already on YouTube. You guys can check it out.
My mom had watched it.
Yeah, live.
Live, yeah.
So
he streamed on his page on We're on Fire as well.
Yeah. Can I tell you guys the coolest moment of Congress for me right now? And it was really for the two of us.
Right.
So we were... When he was there, when Danny was there on Friday, we were walking around the convention hall, and it's if you haven't been before, it's a whole bunch of booths, exhibitors. You can buy stuff, Catholic books, Catholic trinkets, goodies. People sign you up for whatever. You walk around. It's this huge hall. But Bishop Barron was like taking pictures and signing autographs and stuff, or whatever he was doing in the corner. There's a long line.
They had book signings, I think.
Yeah, there's a long line, and we both personally know Bishop Barron from, because we were in the Santa Barbara region. Danny still is.
I still am.
I worked with him musically. He was forming like this group of musicians that he wanted to elevate the Santa Barbara music quality in the region. Right?
Yeah, and he comes to all of our youth ministry regional meetings, like just even when he's available, he just like pops in and says what's up.
It's so great, right? So we have a personal relation. So we were like, oh, should we go say hi? I haven't seen him since I got this job. And we're like, nah, this line's too long, right? So we dip out. But then the next day after Danny had left, I was walking around again by myself. Bishop Barron was again taking pictures, but it was like while people were in their workshop, so there was far fewer people around, right? So like we catch eyes, and he's like, "Oh, hey, Ryan." I was like, "Dang, that's awesome." So we have kind of an inside joke, because I've seen him at many confirmations for the different parishes that I've been at, and it was last year. He comes up to me when he sees me, like before mass, or no, right after mass.
It was at lunch.
Right, yeah, we were gonna have like the lunch, because you have a lunch with the presider or the bishop that presides, and he goes, Ryan, come here. He goes, I hear this song every single confirmation I do. What song is it? Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. And he goes, I always hear that line, and then I go, what's the line afterwards? He goes, I always sing to myself when I'm sitting there listening, because it's always like at the meditation. He goes, I sing to myself, come blah, 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 blah. We straight up said that to me, and I go, and then I couldn't think of it then too, and I was like, ugh.
And then one of the kids is like, oh, it's this.
Yeah, okay, obviously I know the words, but so it kind of became a running joke, and every time I would see him at a confirmation retreat, sure enough, I play that song too. And then like I would catch eyes with him while I was playing it. I like gave him a wink one time and he laughed while he was up there. So anyways, it was kind of like this running inside joke. So anyways, I see him, I start singing the song and I go, what's the words? He goes, I forgot. So he goes and continues to take pictures. And I'm like standing by the Word on Fire booth. I get a tap on my shoulder, and it's Father Steve, who's the CEO of Word on Fire, which I hadn't met before. Right. But he's like, hey, just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Father Steve, the CEO of Word on Fire, and I just wanted to say, love the podcast. I'm like, what? Excuse me?
You're like, which podcast?
You love the Word on Fire podcast because it's fantastic. I was like, why in the world would you be listening to us? We're just two Catholic dudes and we're talking about our faith. He goes, that's just it. That's the beauty of it. It's just like regular guys. I was like, oh my gosh. And he even like quoted one of our episodes. Like, I was like, wow. So you're actually like listening. He's like, yeah.
It's not just like, oh, I've heard of you.
Yeah. And he's like, I was actually, when you guys were standing in line yesterday, I was flagging. He's like, I was waving my arms and I was trying to get you guys to come over. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, wild.
That's crazy.
Wild.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So if you're listening right now, Father Steve, so great to meet you.
Yeah.
We're honored.
Yeah.
Like,
that you would even listen. Like, praise God for that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So wonderful work you guys are doing. I pitched to him. I was like, if you guys want to do a music track on the Word on Fire Institute, I'm your guy.
I'd be like, how do we get Bishop Barron on this podcast?
Well, that's the thing too. We plant the seed, but
so we could stand there and try to intellectually keep up with him.
Bishop Barron, if you're down, we'd love to have you on.
Oh, love to have you on.
Love to have you on.
But yeah, because that honestly, that talk was worth the drive down, even for a day.
Right.
It was so good.
So that was kind of a long story, but it was really, really great moment. It was very, very affirming of what we're doing and just like humbling to like, are you kidding me? Well, like, why?
Speaking of humbling, the coolest parts for me were like, we got recognized like a couple of times by like just random people. They were just like, we'd walk by and they would go, two Catholic dudes.
Yeah.
And we went, oh yeah, that is us. And they're like, oh, like I'm from Seattle, or I listen to you guys. I love you guys. And we were like, oh my gosh. And we were like, oh, can I take a picture? And we were like, sure. Like, are you with me? Like, we're literally just two guys. And for me, it's been weird because I've been, with Ryan when he was in the band, like I was the guy that would go, yeah, let me get this picture for you. And to be like, for people to like want to talk to us or be excited to meet us, it was really a humbling experience for me. Because I was like, wow, like God is really working so powerfully in our ministry, and like the fact that that people are resonating with our words and just us just goofing off and talking to each other about whatever, that people are interested in that and finding hope and finding God in that was a really, really amazing thing for us. And I remember it was really cool. There was one lady talking about how she was looking for a podcast, like, cause her kids had kind of drifted off. And she was like, oh, I found you guys and I wanted to show it to my kids because you guys are like easy to listen to and whatever. I was like, wow, that's amazing. Because that's what we're going for. And it was really, really a really great experience.
Yeah. So God bless you guys. Thanks for listening, but for coming and saying hello. Like all the people that we met. I always forget your name. I met you last year, but you're in San Francisco. You had your whole group of kids. I met up with Father Goyo, who's going to come on the show soon. Father Goyo, if you're listening, he doesn't listen.
He doesn't even text back.
He doesn't text back. But I met up with him, and then this group of guys from San Francisco that we met last year, he came and said hello again. So I'm so sorry I forgot your name, but what's up? Shout out.
Shout out to San Francisco people.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah. It was, and I have to shout out this person because they're a friend, and because they always, and it's Joe Melendrez, because no matter what event we're at, when we're walking around, Joe makes you feel like just a good friend. Like, he was so busy doing whatever the heck he was doing, and we were just like, we'll let him do his thing. We started walking away, and he came running after us because he's just like, hey, I just had to give you guys a hug. Like, I just wanted to say what's up and talk to you guys for a minute.
And Joe was the first person that I saw to start the weekend at Youth Day. Did you see the post? He
posted about it.
We met up like just randomly in the same coffee shop before we went to our sessions and stuff that day. Yeah, so like it was crazy.
Because here's the thing, guys. Like I will make it a point to like anytime anybody ever wants to come up and talk to say hi to us or whatever, like I will always stop and say hello, even if it's for like a second, like because like I got burned quite a few times when I was like a young adult, like meeting these Catholic people, the people that you look up to or whatever, and there's a lot of times where I got burned, and I was like, oh, wow, like you're so cool when you're on stage, and now all of a sudden you're not. And Joe is always the opposite of that. Joe has always been the coolest every time I've ever talked to him. Since I met him in 9th grade when he came to my school or my parish to do a concert, and even to now, he's been a great resource for us, just having questions with all this stuff. And like, so it was affirming again that Joe was like, made it such a point to come and talk to us again when he's got a million other things to do.
He's the best. We had a good moment. There's always a good like after hours thing in the Marriott Hotel or the Hilton too, and we connected. And his new partner, like business partner, his name is Ryan. You made Ryan. Yeah, Ryan's awesome too. So anyways, great guys. Great networking that always happens. I'll share briefly about some, because I was involved a little bit with the weekend as well. So like Thursday, I played in a workshop. I played piano in a workshop with Chris Australia, who's a new OCP artist. He did a wonderful job. Like I was very impressed with his workshop. It was for the Youth Day track, right? So, and again, I think what we've been talking about is Youth Day has gotten a little bit stale, to be honest, right?
I think so.
To be completely frank, but here's the thing: it's a bit stale for us because we've gone for like 15 years.
That's true.
But most of these kids are going. There's the first time they're seeing it, but things need to be revamped a bit, right? And so like a lot of times you see the same speakers again and again every single time. They're doing the same thing. God bless them. They're amazing. Chris this was his first time they gave him this opportunity, and he did wonderful. He had so much energy. He sang this version of this Pokemon song, the Pokemon theme song, but it was like Jesus Christ had like theme song music. It was like all over the stage. It was great.
That's awesome.
So I played piano while he did a bunch of music and stuff. I got the music that day, but it worked out well. He was great. So that was for Youth Day. And then I always am blessed to sing at the opening ceremonies for youth or for Congress, which is the next morning. But it's always the most humbling experience ever because I sing. It's kind of an invite only thing. It's mostly all composers who like Catholic composers. So I literally my singing buddy I posted on I think my personal page, Steve Angrisano. So the OCP composer Steve Angrisano, which is one of my great heroes, like so inspirational to my writing and to my Catholic faith and formation. We just kind of became buddies from the years that I've sung with this group, and we kind of always started singing next to each other, and we share music because like you're crammed up on this tiny little stage. You can barely like even outstretch your arms without poking the guy in front of you, and let alone like turn your page. So we just like share music, and there's like all these kind of intricate harmonies and stuff that we just throw together the night before in the rehearsal, and no one really knows what they're doing. So we all kind of like lean on one another. So he's now my official Congress opening ceremony singing buddy, and it's crazy, like.
Dude, I remember seeing Steve when I went to Youth Day, like 14 years ago.
He's amazing. So he's just super cool. He's incredible. So then on the other side, you got Sarah Hart over there. You got all the GIA boys. Tony Alonso, who wrote the theme song. It was like this big Cuban like trumpet fanfare thing.
What is going on here?
It was crazy.
But again, Tony Alonso, another guy walking by, was like, "What's up, two Catholic dudes? How cool!"
Yeah,
we were like,
Tony's amazing.
Tony Alonso.
Yeah, Krista Silva on piano. You guys, so all the main composers, and I'm like singing right there with them. It's crazy. Right. So huge humbling experience, a huge honor every single year. So I did that, and then I did the closing mass as well. I was singing with the choir, and I was involved with the young adult mass. So we are right at 30 minutes. So we're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna talk about a little bit of the negative,
the good,
sides,
the bad, and the
ugly. Congress is everything. So let's take a quick break. All right, we're back. We're talking all about the good, the bad, and the ugly of Congress. So
Religious Education Congress 2020.
So here we are. I did all these events, but the one that stands out in my mind in a weird way was the young adult mass. the young adult mass has always kind of been
young adult.
Yeah,
mass.
exactly. Like, what does that really mean? And I think a number of years ago, they took away like young adult mass or like the African American mass or they would do like the Pacific Islanders mass, like certain theme masses, whether they were language themes or cultural themes, stuff like that. And now they're like the mass for the injustice of the world or mass for the
different petitions and stuff.
Like, but they're still. This was the young adult mass.
Was it in the Marriott?
It was in the Hilton this year.
Really?
Yeah, first time in the Hilton.
Okay.
But it was also a trilingual mass, so English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. Which, in my opinion, when you start, you try to please everybody, you please nobody. And not that it's about pleasing, but like because it's the mass. Again, we talked about this in many ways, but like you try to accommodate. I guess that's the word.
Yeah. And that I feel like I'm coming to the defense of my detractors when I say this, but that's a big reason why I think a lot of people are like, well, it should be in Latin only, because it's like then you don't have to worry about bilingual. It's like if it's all in Latin, then you don't have to argue. And like. You're not wrong there, but at the same time, I think like, can you just like, what if you do one mass in Spanish and one in Vietnamese and one in English
or like I don't know. So
I always struggled with bilingual masses too, because I'm like, cool, I heard one of the readings, but I don't understand the other one.
Well, to be fair, they had the reading, but. I think the hardest part was the homily. So I get you can do the readings.
He did the homily trilingually.
So yeah, here's the deal. The readings.
Shout out to that priest for being trilingual.
Oh, I know. he did a great job for like being able to switch like that. But again, the readings you can read them while they're saying it in the other language. But when he got to the homily, he did what I would assume would be the same bit 3 times in English,
same full homily
English, but it wasn't even. It was like
a half.
It was surface level because it wasn't overly long.
You don't have the time to give.
He gave 5 minutes to each, and so we didn't get anything. We just got surface level for and then the next group heard it, and then the next group heard it. Right. Okay. So that was one issue, but my biggest issue, obviously, I was involved with music. I was just kind of a hired gun on acoustic guitar.
Wow,
I rarely play acoustic
that's
guitar.
Not your forte right now.
In an ensemble, that's usually, if I'm playing acoustic guitar, I'm usually leading in like praise and worship setting. Right. But being able to blend with the group is a whole nother beast, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. Musically, is like when you go see a jazz band, nobody sees jazz bands, but when you like jazz combos are piano, stand-up bass, and drums. Right. And you don't see guitar usually in that because guitar takes up the same space as the piano.
And it's like the drums where the guy's just like sitting there like barely hitting anything. Like he's not like, Wah!
Yeah. Well, that's it, because it requires a subtlety that like a seasoned musician understands. Right. So same thing with liturgy. People get mad or upset with like super loud instruments, drums, electric guitars, and stuff like that. But a lot of them don't play it tastefully. They don't play it to blend in with the ensemble.
Yeah, not to cut you off, I'm sorry, but we were just Ed Archer, right?
Ed Archer,
we talked to him. He was the director of Benute for like forever.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, you guys, I was just like sitting there like trying to keep up, but you guys were talking about that a little bit.
Yeah,
he does a great job of that.
I said great music, wonderful job, but he's overcritical about himself, and he says, yeah, but it was like there was too much noise going on and too many of the same kinds of instruments that are just like filling up the sound, and it just makes a wash and mess, right?
Some people need to know when not to play.
Exactly. Yeah. Miles Davis, the great jazz trumpeter, you've heard of Miles Davis.
Yes, sir.
Forgive me wrong if this wasn't him that said this. He says the most important note you can play is a rest. Rest means you don't play.
Right.
Okay. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, bud.
Thank goodness.
All right. So, but it takes a seasoned musician to understand that. Because when I first started playing guitar, I was like, look at me. Look at this song I learned. Wow. Look how cool I can play. But okay. So here's the deal. I think a lot of these guys were just hired because they were local for this group. I think the guy who was the director of it was coming from, he flew in. So he just found some local musicians to play. I didn't know any of them. I knew the percussionist who does a great job.
You guys had like one rehearsal?
We had one rehearsal that day at like 10 a.m. and everyone was like super tired. I was tired, but I showed up. I was like, what's up, guys? There was super low energy, but no one was really taking the reins and directing. And the drummer that was there was playing super soft, and the guitarist was barely playing at all. And so I was like leading everything on acoustic guitar. I was like, come on, guys, let's do this. No one was really taking charge, and it was like lukewarm practice at best. No one knew what was going on. There was no dynamics. There was no energy. There was no level difference. It was just like stale, bland, lifeless. And I was like, oh boy, this is going to be rough at best. But I thought rough for a different reason, that it was just going to be kind of like, just chill.
Like people just kind of phoning it in
kind of chill. Okay, so here's what happened. We showed up for the mass. The dudes get set up. The guy gets set up on drums. The guy gets set up on electric guitar. The drums are directly to my left. I'm sitting here in the middle with my acoustic guitar, and the electric guitar is to my right. And as soon as this mass started, did you ever see the video of that girl singing the song Oceans? But in the background, the drummer's playing like heavy metal.
Yeah. I've seen it.
This was this guy. It wasn't him, but like it was like, dude, you're in the wrong venue right now. He was overplaying to the max. Like technically, he was a good drummer, but he was the worst drummer I've ever played with in my entire life, because he played so loud, so incredibly busy, so over the top, and the rest of the group was not even near his level, and it was obnoxious.
Do you ever feel like you're in a moment where you can be like, hey, like, could you calm down there, Ringo Starr?
It's hard to say, to walk that line, because it wasn't I was just there.
Okay.
And then the electric guitarist on the other side was playing with like distortion, but like a terrible, awful sound. And his amp was cranked to like 11, like he was in Spinal Tap.
Okay.
You guys know the reference.
Yeah.
Turn it up to 11. I even told him, I was like, bro, you got to turn that down a bit. They'll just mic it through the hall. He's like, cool. Turns it up. Super loud. But we got this dude on my left and this dude on my right, and they're just hammering.
They're in a rock show.
They're in a rock show. But like the pianist is playing the complete opposite. There's this complete disconnect. And I'm like, dude, you got to read the room. And so I'm sitting here with my acoustic guitar, like, what am I supposed to do? So I did what Miles Davis did. He's like, the most important note, because if I started playing,
it's noise.
It's more noise.
Yeah.
So I barely played the entire mass. And then unfortunately I had a moment where I screwed up, because here's the thing, my mind was so just like, how do I fix this? How can I fix this? And I couldn't. When we got to the Glory to God, no one was leading. After the Kyrie, there's the moment when it goes Kyrie right into the Glory to God. Mm-hmm. Nobody counted us in. And I'm looking around, and there's.
Did you have like a director, like a?
Well, we should have, but nobody did, and it's not my call. I'm a director, but it's not my call. And there was this awkward silence. It's like, we need to start the song. No one was looking, and I'm like, look, I'm thinking about how I can bring them in, and I just go, and I start playing. You know what I did? A classic rookie move. I didn't take off my capo on my guitar, and so I started playing in the wrong key, and everyone looks at me like, ugh. And
like, that's not it.
And I was like, oh shoot. So I take it off, and like we literally I played like a bar, and then I stopped.
Because you can't like
nope, you can't do really. It. And it was awful, and then we started over again. So I kind of had one of the biggest blunders, but it's because my mind was so we weren't in sync. In sync. I wasn't in the zone, because it was just this big disconnect. It was I wanted to hide for the rest of the mass, like how embarrassing it was.
And here's the thing is, I think that it's one of those things where, because we get a lot of flack often, because people have made jokes that your job, your career, your passion in life is a pointless position, right? But it's not even the matter of like, when you know things aren't correct, or when you know things are not where they should be, it bothers you, right? Because you have an understanding of what it should be. And like, because now not only are you know that the music's not there where you want it to be, you know that it's not where they're appropriate to be, and now you're so focused on how this is not going well, it's now taking you out of mass. It
took me out of mass, exactly. And it's the other dude, the drummer, again, very proficient drummer. He was playing things that were great for another setting, but like, it's kind of an ignorance is bliss thing, because he was looking at me like, yeah, we're rocking. And I was like, no, this is the worst thing I've ever heard. But he didn't know. And again, he probably had no formation.
Sure.
And that's where I was.
Talked about that with Jack, yeah.
That's where I was. I didn't know. And so I could see him like, is me 15 years ago. And like, bro, but nobody's teaching them what's right.
Or nobody's saying, hey, this, like, don't do that.
Or nobody's saying, the guitarist to my right, hey, that little lick you played is in the wrong key. dude, it was bad. It was real bad.
Man.
So, I mean, I was to the point where like I'm walking out after mass is over holding my guitar case and some nuns are like, oh, thank you so much for the music. I wanted to be like, no, I'm just holding that dude's case. He's in the restroom.
You're like, oh, I apologize.
So anyways, that was a kind of a weird moment, right? But what I wanted to talk about also was, so my roommate, which we still have not had on the podcast, the Basic Catholic, who you guys are probably following him. He has like 115,000 followers.
Yeah.
If you're not, go check him out. Again, very traditional, very conservative. He means well. Sometimes he gets a little crazy, but he did a rant.
And he's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
Good
Austin,
friend.
love him. Very traditional.
Yeah, we don't, and that's the thing is like you can have friends that you disagree with,
right.
And truly like a lot of the stuff that he's posted and has got me to see things a little differently and look at things a little more conservatively. And sometimes I'm blessed by it, and we'll get into it a little bit. We'll talk if we decide to touch on Ash Wednesday and stuff this episode. But anyway, continue what you were saying. But
let's do that. Let's take a break, but we're gonna get back to this. So let's divert really quick to Ash Wednesday because today is Thursday.
Today's Thursday. So yesterday was Ash Wednesday, and like speaking on that point, like I'm very open to, modern things. Like if it's done properly, right? I love music at mass. I love if it's done correctly. I like. Like I said, I do a teen mass where the teens are serving, and if they're doing it reverently and with the knowing willingness to know that what they are doing, then it's a beautiful thing. Now, at the same point, and I'm not trying to roast my own parish here. I love my parish; it's been my home for 28 years, and but I was really annoyed at Ash Wednesday because I get it, like. I went to like the noon service.
Like Ash service.
Ash service.
Like a drive-through, get your ashes.
Yeah,
and
like it just kind of seemed like everybody was like there, and it was like, okay, guys, like we'll make this quick, do a couple readings, come on up and
nobody want to be here.
Yeah,
so
come on up and get your ashes, and
we'll.
we'll call it a day. And like for some people, they were like sick. Like let me slap that on and I'm out of here. And I guess for me, more because I'm more like I yearn for that spiritualness, and I should have chosen. I could have gone to the mass in the morning instead, but I went to the one on my lunch break because I worked at the church and walked across the parking lot. And but I was really like saddened because I was like, man, this is it's really irreverent, and it's kind of making light of this really cool day and this beginning to our Lenten journeys, and
they're missing the point.
It just seemed like it just kind of seemed like I struggle because if we want people to take faith, church, the relationship with God seriously, we got to act like it's serious.
Yeah.
And if at our services and our masses, whether it be traditional or Novus Ordo or Liturgy of the Words, we have to treat it like it's important.
And we need to put the care and devotion and dedication to that no matter what.
Yeah, and I think that comes from like, we all of us need to take it importantly, and it's on me too, because just because it wasn't exactly what I wanted it to be, I allowed it to take me out of it, and I was like annoyed. But I should have just been like, you know what, I'm here, I can sit and pray and do my own thing, and my connection with God is not dependent upon anybody else. But I was like, and I was bummed because I kind of got gypped on my ashes. Like, I just got like a line.
Oh yeah, I saw
like,
that.
I was like, what?
Yeah, we posted. I had like the best ash I've had in a long time,
and I'm sitting there like.
Again, it doesn't matter how many ashes you get or how they look, but it's the same. But you look at it, you're like, I want to rep it. I want to go out the rest of the day and show that this big fat cross on my forehead. You're like, I got a little smudge.
I was just like, what's going on here? But anyway,
yeah, that's unfortunate,
So I wasn't like, I'm not like mad at it or anything. I was just kind of bummed because I think it could have been a really more beautiful and a more reverent thing than it was, and. Like I said, and going back to what we were going to talk about, a lot of this thinking that I've come from of having a better appreciation for the beauty of things has come from, Austin's post and other people that we follow and people we've had conversations with that disagree with us and meeting in the middle.
And we might say at first like, oh no, you're wrong. But it on second thought, you're like, maybe there's something to that, because they're doing it in a charitable way. Austin and these other people there, when they're telling us, oh, you're wrong, it's in a charitable. They're not attacking us, and so that opens the door for us to start to understand and see things from their light,
Precisely.
and vice versa. Hopefully they can see things from our side, and maybe we can all meet in the middle. But yes, to start seeing, oh, maybe we are doing something, a bit weird or whatever. But
or you could have a deeper appreciation for something.
Have a deeper appreciation, exactly. So, for instance, like my Ash Wednesday service, it's not my service. Okay, the service at my church.
The parish you work
which
at.
I'm liturgy director now, which I'm still like trying to wrap my head around, my duties and how to do it correctly. This was kind of my first call. My first major decision was Ash Wednesday, and my pastor said, we're not doing Ash services. And I said, that's wonderful. He said,
all of them were masses?
We're just doing all masses.
Awesome.
And I said, can we make, instead of just saying whatever pastor or whatever presider is there to decide when the ashes will be distributed, can we just decide right now when we're gonna do them? And I said, we're gonna do them at the very end, because you know what happens when you have them like after the homily or even sooner. I think some people do it like right after the
we're out of there.
Right after the penitential act. People, yep, see you later, got my ash, I'm out of here. So not that we're like forcing them to be there, but like if we're coming for a mass, let's receive the Eucharist, let's receive Jesus. But it ended up being so beautiful. The 7:30 mass, especially last night, we did the entire mass, we did the closing prayer, and then I had we did a couple songs as they were coming to get their ashes, but we instructed them to just like, if we can keep a reverent frame of mind and just kind of quietly exit the church. So rather than everybody kind of doing their normal thing, like as the music was quietly playing, they all exited the church in silence, and it was a really great moment.
Yeah, see, and I think that a lot of times there's probably plenty of parishes where it's like, all right, everybody, like, come on up.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not handing out donuts. But anyway, so like different perspectives.
Yep,
but exactly. At the end of the day, Ash Wednesday was it starts your Lenten journey, and we're here.
Yeah, we're going to have another episode on Lent. We're probably filming that tomorrow, but it won't air for 3 weeks because we got some other stuff coming up. We'll tell you about it.
Yeah, maybe at the end.
If we talk about it tomorrow, anyways, it's weird the way you air these things. Anyway. So let's swing back around to Austin's post.
So he posted about his thoughts, and we knew, we've known for a long time that there was going to be some things that he didn't like about Congress. And honestly, with some of the stuff, I agree with him. But then there's other stuff where I'm like, well, I see the other side of the coin as well. So it's like, but I will say this, the video that his thoughts, and go check him out on his Instagram. Like I said, we can disagree with each other, but he did it in a very kind and charitable way.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very well done post, and he said how he felt, and he made his point, and that's that. He's entitled to his opinion and his belief and his thought. But we talked earlier about how the big issue that a lot of people have is the liturgical movement.
Yeah, liturgical dancing, liturgical movement, whatever you want to call it.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not really humongous on it. I don't really. I think it kind of makes Mass like a show, a little bit, but. We know some of the people that do it, right? And they're really great people.
They're amazing. And Austin's post, the main one was our friend John, who is one of the dancers. Like
the coolest guy.
Beautiful, beautiful soul, beautiful human being, and
a heart for God.
And he wants the best. And then it's like. It's hard when you're seeing them attacked like on that post. This is what's wrong with the church. And it's this guy is amazing, amazing human being. And I'll go back to what Austin said. He was taken aback because he said he was at Congress walking around and he saw Father James Martin, which is like the complete opposite of his stance on Catholicism. Yeah. And he's and Austin is very outspoken, and he will tell you how it is.
To his credit, if Austin has a problem or has an issue, he says it straight up.
He'll let you know right there.
Good for him.
And so he's like, in the post, he said, I was going to go up to Father James Martin and just tell him off and tell him exactly how I felt. And he started talking to him, and he's like, I couldn't do it because this is a beautiful human being that I'm talking to right now. So, and he was like, literally, he was taken aback and he didn't know how to respond. He's just like
a genuinely nice guy.
This is an amazing child of God right here. Mm-hmm. And he couldn't come. So he still disagrees with him, but like,
sure.
There's something to that again. So whether you're not you might disagree with the liturgical movement, the dancing, like these are beautiful people. We're friends with them. It's funny. It's not funny, I guess, but the Bishop Van, the Bishop of Orange County, he celebrated there was 2 closing masses, the one at 8:30 on Sunday morning, and then they did like another mass at 3:30. He celebrated the first one and he said no liturgical dancing. He said, I'm not having it while I'm there. And so the liturgical dancers that we know, they were like kind of, I wouldn't say upset, but they were like, oh man, this never happened before. So they did the other one, which Archbishop Gomez celebrated. And like, here's the thing: if he really doesn't want it to happen, he'd say no, just like Bishop Van did. I can't confirm if he likes it or doesn't like it, is impartial to it, tries to look the other way. I don't know, but like, again, we've said it before. If from upstairs there's something going on that's not appropriate or is liturgically incorrect, like they can say, no, we're not doing this. Right. So, yeah, that's usually that. So that was big. Austin's biggest gripe is the liturgical dancing side of things. But again, Congress is kind of a melting pot of all things Catholic. Like we said, there's the good, there's the bad, there's the ugly for any perspective. You know, far left perspectives might see something beautiful, and then far right perspectives might see something else, that same thing as super terrible and ugly, right? Yeah. So again, we kind of fall in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, I try to, because at the end of the day, like, I feel the most that Jesus is calling me to love my neighbor and to love him and love everyone. And yes, like, we want to pursue and push people to heaven. You know, that's what Austin loves to say. And that's true. It's great. It's pushing people to heaven. And, you know, amen to that. And I think, but I always want to just, I don't know where people connect with God or how they do, like, but I just, there's a lot of really great Catholic people that do things that a lot of people, that some people will disagree with, I guess, I'm wording this poorly, but I'm trying to get to the point of, like, we can disagree with each other on some things and still treat each other charitably and lovingly.
And lead each other to God.
Lead each other to God and be kind to each other. And so the main point we're trying to make is that I think Austin did that in his post. You know, he disagreed with a lot of the stuff that we really like, or the whole event that we really like.
Yeah.
But he did it in a way that was, I think, kind. You know, and people are going to agree with him. People are going to not, and it's okay. The biggest thing is we can all pray for each other. You know, and we can pray, and I do agree with him. Because it goes back to what I was saying about Ash Wednesday, there are some masses at Congress and at Youth Day where I'm sitting there like, man, like,
it's too much.
This isn't Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah.
Like, this, you know, it's still mass. So can we have a little bit more reverence? You know, like, and I go back to, I said that, like, I was so mad when one time this kid got up and he sang some song and it was great and everything, but like, everyone's standing up and applauding for him. I'm like, you have Jesus in you in the Eucharist, and you're applauding for, you know, Jimmy Bob Joe because he sang a nice little tune.
Bob Joe.
But like, you God is within you. You should be meditating and praying on that. And everyone's busy clapping for this kid that did a great job. So there's a lot of things that are, you know, good, bad, whatever. But at the end of the day, I think that Congress is a great thing, and there's a lot of beautiful things that are going on there. And it's a great time for Catholics to get together, hang out, meet each other, network, stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the applause comes from, because most of the people there, like we talked about, are people that are kind of cloistered in their one parish. They never get a chance to go out. They never get to see anything on a larger scale. And so for once, a lot of people, they go once and they don't come back for years and years, or, you know, never come back. And so they're seeing this for the first time, everything on a larger scale. 30,000 people. They're seeing these big talks on a huge scale, and they're seeing these masses on a big scale where things are, again, heightened up. So the music is heightened. You got the dancing, you have all the banners and the lights and everything. So it's just like they're probably overwhelmed with so many emotions that it just kind of pours out because they've never heard anything like that.
Right.
So I wouldn't fault exactly the congregation for doing that. It's just a lot of things coming at them. But I will say, I pray that everyone that did attend Congress and that does in the future, that can take all the good things from Congress, because there are so many, and we've talked about a lot of them, but they can take all those good things and take them back to their parish and actively pursue implementing them however they may be, whether they're a catechist, whether they're a DRE, a music minister, a youth minister, whatever their role is at their parish, is take those things and really try to step up their parish. And because a lot of times it's difficult. They go back to their parish and they get flack from the people that weren't there. They go, oh, no, you just had a vacation, whatever. We're not going to, that's too much work. That's too much. But like, be aggressive, go back to your parish and try to make sure you're taking the good things and bring them back and elevate your parish to the next level.
Yeah. Right? Amen. Love it. Yeah. Just remember that, like, God is present in all things, and we can push, we always can push our parishes and each other to be the best that we can be. So, and I think that, spiritual growth is important, and I definitely got it from Congress this year. Even if it's just by Bishop Barron's talk, you can always find something that helped you to spiritually grow.
Right. Yeah.
So,
all right, it's getting late. We're messing up our words.
And I'm fading. We're feeling.
I can see it in your eyes right now.
I am. I'm
oh my
tired.
gosh. All right, so we have a big weekend. We got a big event on Saturday. We're gonna. Well, this is you're listening in the future, but we just played a great event in Palmdale.
Well, tomorrow you're hearing this tomorrow. You're hearing this tomorrow. That's how tired we are. But no, tomorrow. That's not even it. Saturday. It's Thursday.
Yeah.
No, technically.
It's Friday.
We're good. Anyway,
right, guys.
Saturday we are going to Lancaster for Antelope Valley Youth Day. We are the keynote guys.
Yeah, we're the keynote speakers, and we're going to do a live podcast while we're there.
We're doing Ryan's doing a workshop. I'm doing a workshop. It's going to be great.
It's going to be a thing. Be there, or you were there when you listened to this on Monday.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
But we're very excited to do it, and I'm sure it's going to be an amazing event, and we'll be, this is always weird when we're talking about something that's going to happen.
It's in the future that was in the past. That's all right, guys. We're going to cut it off right now. Religious Ed Congress 2020. It was a great time. We look forward to 2021. I can't even.
2021.
It's going to be awesome. Be there. It's in Los Angeles, Orange County, right by Disneyland. So you can plan your Disneyland trip. Go check out Religious Ed Congress. You can check out us. We'll be there next year, surely. But I hope you guys are having a great start to your year. As always, follow us on all the social medias.
Yeah.
All the things.
We pray for you on your Lenten journeys.
Yeah, Patreon, do the thing, please. Thanks for all your Patreon members. We love you guys. You're amazing. Yeah, we'll do our Lenten episode soon. Look out for that. Yep. But enjoy your Lent in the meantime, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Yep. Peace.